Now, Manchester United's season has been full of drama, punctuated by disappointment throughout. It's certain to be the shortest season in terms of games in more than a century. The question now is who will take on the challenge of trying to rescue European football at the end of the season. Let's head live to Manchester and our reporter Dan Khan. And Dan, you have a development for us this evening.
Yeah, good evening, Rob. I can tell you Manchester United are close to agreeing terms with Michael Carrick for him to become their interim head coach until the end of the season. Now, we reported throughout the day that he was meant to meet United today to continue further talks about the role, but we've been told there's a broad agreement on many of the substantive issues with negotiations still ongoing. There's no final agreement just yet. I think discussions and conversations now focused on his backroom staff, what that looks like. Could it include Darren Fletcher, who's taken the team in their last two games? We'll wait and see. But the plan is for Carrick's new contract to run until the end of the season. And this is really what Manchester United wanted, is someone in place, more importantly, to take this team ahead of the Manchester derby on Saturday.
Well, as for that Manchester derby then on Saturday, Dan, how are Manchester United's preparations looking between now and then?
Yeah, look, they're going to have a few days off. I think that's the first thing to say, Rob. I mean, they've been off today, they'll be off tomorrow before returning to training on Wednesday, but before preparing for that big derby on Saturday. Now, a lot of that is down to what has been quite a congested Christmas fixture period. Of course, the Manchester United squad have also been quite stretched in terms of players away to AFCON, as well as numerous injuries as well. Luke Shaw, for example, was left out of the squad against Brighton yesterday just simply due to squad rotation. So look, they'll be trying to regather themselves ahead of training on Wednesday that you would expect now Michael Carrick to take with his new look backroom staff. But look, they now need to, everything off the pitch looks like it's been sorted with Michael Carrick nearing ever closer to being their interim head coach. They now need to focus on the pitch and get some results in the league, because as you mentioned beforehand, that is their only focus this season. And Darren Fletcher said it yesterday, they have to focus and challenge for those Champions League places. And that starts with a pretty easy one, right? Manchester derby on Saturday.
Dan, thank you very much indeed. So, Clinton, it looks as though it is going to be Michael Carrick. Statistics would tell you that United would need around 69 points to finish fourth. 65 points usually is enough to get you fifth. From what you've seen of him in the EFL, has Michael Carrick got it in his locker to deliver 33 points and above? Yeah,
I think he's got it in his locker for sure. I think he did a good job at Middlesbrough in the EFL and done it ever so well. And I did think, when jobs were coming available like West Ham, I thought West Ham might look to Michael Carrick, a young manager. So, yeah, I think if he gets the job, I think it'd be a good appointment from now to the end of the season. Do I see him getting it long-term? No. I think they need a serious manager. And I'm not saying Michael Carrick at the moment, but what I mean is a proven manager at that football club. But from now to the end of the season, I think Michael Carrick will be a really good appointment. But do I believe this squad of Man United players are good to get into that Champions League? Not at the moment, but the league is wide open. That's the problem. There's only 3 teams that are playing to their potential this season, and that's the 3 teams that are in the top 3 in the Premier League. Other than that, it's wide open this year.
Do you think that initially now there needs to be an adult conversation? I'm sure that this is part of the discussions they're having with Michael Carrick to say, this is it, 17 games, no more. That no matter what you do, there is no chance, unfortunately, of you getting the job full time.
But that's a tough question, because if I'm Michael Carrick and I'm saying in them 17 games, I win like 11 of them, a few draws and a few losses, then I want the job, because I've proven myself in them 17 games. But that's down to the hierarchy to have that conversation with Michael Carrick, just to say, this is 17 games. Whatever happens, you are not getting the job at the end of the season. But it's a no-win situation for Michael Carrick, because if he goes in there and he doesn't do well, obviously I understand he'll be disappointed, but if he does do well, his stock's high, and there'll be other people looking at him and saying, well, yeah, he could be our future manager, because I do think he's a good young manager. He's a fantastic footballer, and I do think he'll be a top manager.
Do you think that any prospect of him being given the job full-time and the temptation to do it is almost made easier for United because they're not in any cups, so he can't hide anything by winning a trophy? And we saw it, for example, at Spurs last season. League form's awful, but win the Europa League. That fifth is the brief. If you get fifth or fourth, and if you get that, it's thank you very much, shake hands and move on.
Yeah, his job is to get them into the Champions League. If Michael Carrick does that, and fifth could be good enough to get into the Champions League, if he does that, he's done his job. And obviously he's done his job brilliantly, because I think a lot of people from the outside would be looking now and thinking, have Man United got a realistic chance of getting into them Champions League? Probably as it stands, no. Maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago where they were in the league, yeah, but the run and the results that they've been on been nowhere near good enough. But as I say, I wish Michael Carrick the best. I feel sorry for Man United fans. They're going to have to suffer for a long time. A lot of people said it might be 3, 4, 5 years. It could be longer than that they suffer at the moment. You can see there's a lot of disconnect between the owners and the fans at the moment. So that needs to be sorted out. I think everyone needs to come together, but that's only going to come together when Man United start doing well on the pitch, and at the moment they're not doing well. But I think Michael Carrick will do well. He'll get a tune out of the players. You know what it is, Rob? I watched the game yesterday against Brighton, and I'm thinking, you've only got the cup competition left. Why do you not play your strongest 11? And like Dan Khan just said there, they rested Luke Shaw. You don't need to rest Luke Shaw. You haven't got Europa League football or anything like that. All you've got is Premier League, and your only chance of winning the cup competition would have been FA Cup. If you'd got a good draw, you might have gone far in that cup competition, but Brighton were the better team. You're knocked out, and all you've got to concentrate now on is trying to get into that Champions League.
Because it was interesting when Ruben Amorim was sacked last week. I heard quite a lot of glass half full approaches to where Man United are, i.e. they're only 3 points off the top 4 at the moment. But what are they? 1 point above Sunderland, 1 point above Fulham, 2 above Sunderland, 3 above Everton. That the league is so squashed that it is difficult to sort of work out actually how good they are.
Exactly that, and you're spot on. It's so squashed. If you lose 2 games, you could drop into the bottom half of the table. You win 2 or 3 games in the bottom half, you could jump right. Look at Fulham 4 or 5 weeks ago. They were down near the foot of the table, not right near the bottom, but in them bottom 5 or 6. Now they jumped up to, they're like 8th in the Premier League. So, and that looks like it's a good season. And that is because the league is so open. Apart from the top 3, everyone else is beating everyone else, and everyone's trying to go on a run, but they can't go on a run at the moment. So that is why Man United are in that position. And that is why people think Man United are doing well. But it's covering over the cracks, and the fans will tell you that it's covering over the cracks. That club is one of the biggest clubs in the world, and it still is one of the biggest clubs in the world. And any manager would want that job. But they just need to get... I've always said it, the recruitment at that football club, Rob, has been nowhere near good enough.
It was interesting, Darren Fletcher said after that game against Brighton yesterday, said, you know, in difficult times, true character is going to show. So they have to dig in and make sure they want to be part of Manchester United's future. Is the worry, when there's an interim manager in charge, that a lot of those players will think, well, I'll be here longer than him?
Yeah, maybe, but...
We saw it a little bit with Ralph Rangnick, didn't we?
Yeah, you're right, but I don't know how a group of players can think that you're playing for Man United Football Club. It's hard for people. I don't know if it's people nowadays and how people's mentality is, but when I'm playing, if you get a chance to go and play for Man United Football Club, you'd be walking up the motorway to go and play for Man United Football Club. You're still putting on that red jersey. They're one of the most successful teams there is around in world football. You go away to any other country, everyone's wearing a Man United shirt. That's how well supported they are. And at the moment, I'm looking at the group of players and thinking, there is a lot that know what it's like to play for that football club. But and then you're looking, as I said, there's a big disconnect between the owners and the fans, and that doesn't help. When that starts happening, the fans are starting to get frustrated. I even spoke to a fan yesterday, said, I gave my ticket away because I knew we were going to lose to Brighton. You should not be thinking like that as a fan. So it's disappointing, but yeah, they're going to have to suffer a bit. But hopefully Michael Carrick can go in there and steady the ship. And you never know, they still have a chance because of the position they're in to finish in one of them Champions League spots.
If we assume that it goes down to 5th then,
yeah.
Liverpool 4th. Are you going to lock the top 3 in and say that they'll all be fine?
Yeah, but I'm going to lock Liverpool in as well.
You're going to lock Liverpool in as well.
Liverpool.
So let's say it goes down to 5th.
Yeah.
You've got Brentford in 5th on 33.
Yeah.
Down to Spurs in 14th on 27.
They got, to be fair, there's 3 teams probably, and there's probably, you throw Chelsea into the mix because they'll come good. I think with Liam Rosinha, he's a good coach, and they've got world-class players, Chelsea. Chelsea should be up there anyway. They should be challenging where Liverpool are. And then you go Newcastle, who can go on a great run, who I think will be there or thereabouts. And then the other one you would think is Man United. But if you look at the squads, and you look at Newcastle, and you look at Chelsea, and you look at Man United squad, Man United have some good players, but those 2 other squads have better squads than Man United. So that's why I'd put them 2 ahead of finishing ahead of Man United this season.
So that is, I guess, the reason why they really have to emphasise a focus on the fact that they are the one team of those 3 you just mentioned playing once a week, and that Newcastle and Chelsea have Champions League, or Chelsea have all 4 competitions. Actually,
exactly.
both Newcastle and Chelsea.
Yeah, they have a lot of games coming, so they've got to utilise their squad. So that is why Man United should have the advantage, because all they've got to concentrate on now is Premier League football, not even FA Cup football. football, Premier League football. So that is the biggest thing. Look, concentrate on the Premier League, get Michael Carrick in, get him to look at the players and his style of play, and in them 17 games, see if he can get a tune out of them and they can finish in that top 5 of the Champions League spot. If they finish in the top 5 of the Champions League, he's done a brilliant job. He'll be knocking on the door saying, give me the job at the end of the season. But he has to know what his role is when he's talking to the hierarchy. Because what happens, Rob, if he gets them into the Champions League? Does he just leave? He's going to want to stay, isn't it? It's Man United Football Club. So they're the conversations he'll have to be having.
That's what the point I go back to then. You've said it a few times in various answers about the size of this football club and where Manchester United wanted back. And Ruben Amorim said at the start of the season, look, we all know that actually finishing the Champions League isn't great. We want to be challenging to win the title. And I feel like that the mistake was made with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, that there was that famous win against Paris Saint-Germain and everyone got very starry-eyed and gave him the job, when actually it's going to take an Omar Barada, whoever it is, to think, if we want to really go back to being up there with Arsenal and City and teams like that, that it's going to take a Thomas Tuchel or a Carlo Ancelotti.
Well, you know what it's going to take? Let the manager come in, manage the team. Like, I've said this many times, and we spoke about it on Soccer Saturday, me and Merce. Let me tell you something. Aston Villa, Unai Emery sorts out everything from top to bottom. Yeah, you already had a sporting director in there, but he's allowed to do his signings. Arsenal do the same, Man City do the same. There's no coincidence that those 3 teams are doing well this season. So if you're going to get a manager in at Man United, let him do the business, let him run it. If you want Thomas Tuchel suffers no fools. He'll go in there and he'll want to do it his way. So if you want a top manager like that, or Enrique, who might become available if he leaves PSG, these are top managers. They want to do it their way. So that's what I'm going to say. This title of head coach, I don't like it. Let the managers choose the players and they have good relationships with their sporting director. As I just said, them top 3 teams, their clubs are run properly, and that's why they're doing so well at the moment, because the managers have the say. As ever, you're a few steps ahead, Clinton. We're going to get to that when we talk about Tottenham. No, it's just you're just a visionary. That's the problem with you, Clinton. Is it just good at my job? Well, that's debatable. Don't push it that far. Let's instead talk to Dave Reed. Clinton has mentioned a few times about the quality of this Manchester United squad. What do we think then, Dave? Good evening, by the way, about the true value of these players.
Yes, good evening, Rob. Good evening, Clinton. Let's talk about squad value. Clinton touched on it there. Michael Carrick then close to the job. How does this squad compare to the one that he took over for that brief stint in 2021 at Old Trafford? One way to look at the quality of players available at United to the head coach is to see the transfer value of the squad. Now, things to think about when we look at this. If you have a small squad with fewer players, the cumulative squad value is going to be smaller. Simple, right? Conversely, the more players you have, the more value the whole squad will hold. And it's pretty simple. The better player you are, the higher value you have. So with all that in mind, this kind of chart also gives us an insight into the head coach improving individual players. If players play better.
Carrick favourite for Man United caretaker role. Michael Carrick has emerged as favourite to be appointed Manchester United caretaker head coach, according to sources close to the process. Club chiefs are hoping to have an appointment in place for when players return to training on Wednesday. While a final decision is yet to be reached, talks are said to have progressed with the 44-year-old over the position. Carrick previously had a 3-game stint as United's temporary boss following Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's dismissal in 2021 that he won 2 and drew 1 of those matches but left after Ralf Rangnick's arrival as interim manager. Carrick is known to have significant backing from within the United squad and the Ineos hierarchy that run football affairs at Old Trafford. Solskjaer held face-to-face discussions with the club on Saturday about a return. United sacked Ruben Amorim as manager after 14 months in the job on the 5th of January. Darren Fletcher, a former United and Scotland midfielder, was initially handed temporary responsibility for first-team affairs following Amorim's departure. United suffered an FA Cup third-round defeat at the hands of Brighton on Sunday in what looks set to be Fletcher's second and final game in charge. He led the side to a draw at struggling Burnley in the Premier League last Wednesday. Former England midfielder Carrick played 464 games in all competitions for United between 2006 and 2018, having been signed from Tottenham by Sir Alex Ferguson. He has been out of work since he was sacked by Championship club Middlesbrough last June after 2.5 years in charge. Carrick guided Borough to the Championship playoffs in the 2022-23 campaign, only for them to lose to Coventry in the semi-finals. His side then narrowly missed out on the top 6 in successive campaigns, resulting in Carrick losing his job. Walsall-born Carrick does not boast the same managerial experience as Zirkzee, given he has had only one permanent role with Middlesbrough. Following his retirement from a glittering playing career at Old Trafford, Carrick immediately joined Jose Mourinho's coaching staff at United at the end of the 2017-18 season. After the Portuguese was sacked, he was kept on as a first-team coach throughout Zirkzee's 168-game reign.